Today's lesson is 2.1, the distance formula. The distance formula is used for us to find length. Remember that a distance or a length cannot be negative. None of our answers should show up as negatives today. On our foldable, the distance formula says if A is a point x1, y1, and B is a point x2, y2, then they are points in a coordinate plane, then the distance between A and B is this formula. Notice that in my distance formula, we do have the square root. It does contain taking the x values, x2 and x1, and we're going to go ahead and subtract them from one another, and then we're going to square them. Then we're going to go ahead and add the same thing with the y values. We're going to take y2 and y1. They must be in the same order. Notice it's x2 minus x1. It has to be in the same order for the y's, y2 minus y1. We got to make sure that we subtract them, and then we square the subtraction value. All right, let's go ahead and do some examples. I just have 3 for you today. I'm going to leave the formula up here. Remember, our answers cannot be negative. Find the distance between the points 3, -4, and 3, 7. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label them as x1, y1, x2, y2. Each ordered pair must contain an x and a y, and then they must contain the same number. I'm going to go ahead and use this as my skeleton, and I'm going to leave blanks to do substitution. This is considered showing my work. So here's the first one for my x's. I'm going to remind myself to subtract. And here's for my y's. I'm going to remind myself to subtract, and I'm going to pull that that square root all the way to the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to play the matching game. x2, well, that's 3. I'm going to put that right here. x1, well, that's 3. I'm going to put it right here. Once I have placed it into the formula, I can cross it out and I'm not going to use it again. y2 will be 7. And grabbed the wrong thing. y1, if I'm crossing out, is the only number left, -4. Now what I can do from here is I could go ahead and I can solve this the long way, or I could go ahead and grab my calculator. I'm going to show you this first one the long way. So I would do 3 minus 3, that's 0. And then 4 minus a minus. Whenever we see a double minus, remember that's going to get changed to plus. 7 plus 4, that's 11, and we're going to square it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go in and square. 0 squared is, of course, 0, and 11 squared is 121. I'm going to go ahead and add those two numbers together. 121 is 0 plus 121, and the square root of 121 is 11. This would be my final answer. This is what is called an exact answer because there is no decimal. A decimal means we're guessing. Most of the time, a decimal for this one would mean that we are rounding. So this one would be considered an exact answer because we got a whole number. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at example 2. Calculate the distance between the points E, -2, 3, and F, 1, 4 in the coordinate plane. Give an exact answer. I'm going to go ahead and label point E as my x1, y1, and my point F as x2, y2. Now there's really no reason why I labeled E the 1s and F the 2s. It's totally at my discretion. It's my choice which one I do. I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the formula. Remember, I'm taking my x values and I'm going to subtract them. Let's see, so x2 is 1, x1 is -2, and then I'm going to square their value. I'm going to add to that the same thing with the y's. I'm going to subtract my y values. y2 is 4, y1 is 3, and I'm going to square them. Everybody's underneath the square root. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place this into my calculator. If I place this into my calculator will give me the solution. And if you use the calculators in class in your baskets, it will do the simplifying properly for you. So if I place this into my calculator, I get, actually, hold on a second. Let me come down here. I get the square root of 10. And let me show you why. Well, minus a minus here would become a plus, so this is 3 squared. And 4 minus 3 is 1, so this is 1 squared. Remember, this is all underneath a square root still. 3 squared is 9. 1 squared is 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. So there's the work that your calculator was doing to get that exact answer of the square root of 10. So this is my exact answer. Now when you go into your assignment today in Schoology, it's also going to ask for an approximate answer. To do an approximate answer, you're simply going to hit the button on the calculators in class that look like this. It's right above the orange and delete key and AC key, SD with an arrow in between. This is going to change the square root of 10 into a decimal for you. Here is the decimal that I get on my screen. We are going to be asking you to round. We are going to be asking you to round to the nearest tenth in your assignment. The tenths place is the number right after the decimal, the 1 right here. You have to decide, should the approximate answer be 3.1 or should it be 3.2? Who makes the decision? The number right after the tenths place. This stuff, I didn't need to copy. I don't need to look at it in my calculator. So remember, the rounding rules are 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, add 1 more. Since 6 is 5 or more, I'm going to go ahead and add 1 more. My approximate answer would be 3.2, and this is called my approximate answer. All right, one last one to try. Calculate the distance between the points P -7, 6 and Q -1, 1. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Well, we're going to practice tenths, so let me go ahead and cross that out. And I want to practice tenths because that is what your assignment is going to ask for, to the nearest tenth. So here we go. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Remember, you always label the points in this matter. All right, let's go ahead and put it in. The square root. I write on my paper first so that I don't mess up in my calculator. The formula says to take x2, -1, and subtract x1, -7. So I'm just going right here and right here. That's where I found those numbers. Remember, once you use them, you can go ahead and cancel them out. Then I'm going to go ahead and add together the same thing for the y's. I'm going to subtract y2 minus y1. Remember, these two had been used. So 1 minus 6. I'm going to go ahead and put this solely into my calculator. And my calculator is going to put the square root of 61. This is my exact answer. This is my exact answer. I'm going to hit that SD button one more time. This is what it looks like in the calculator. And it's right above the orange delete and AC keys. I'm going to get the decimal. More than enough. Remember, the tenths place is the number right after the decimal. The one right after that is going to tell you if you should let it rest or add one more. The rest of the stuff we didn't need to copy. So I have a decision to make, 7.8 or 7.9. Those are my choices. One is 4 or less, so I'm going to go ahead and let it rest, and this would be my approximate answer.